everyone, I am Sylvia Pratami from Group 2. Today I'm going to talk about language, which is a fundamental tool of human communication that shapes our world. We'll explore what language is, its core components, and how it functions in our daily life. Let's start with the basic questions. What is language? Language is a complex system of communication that uses symbols, sounds, and gesture to convey meaning. It is unique to humans and allows us to express thoughts, emotions, and ideas. Language is not just about spoken words, it also includes written text, sign language, and even body language. Language can be broken into several key components. The first is phonology. This is the study of sound in a language. Every language has a set of sounds known as phonemes. Phonology helps us understand how these sounds are organized and how they function to differentiate meaning. Next is morphology. This is the study of word formation. Morphology looks at how words are created from smaller units called morphemes, the smallest grammatical units that carry meaning. For example, the word unhappiness is made up of three morphemes: un, happy, and ness. Alright, next is syntax. Syntax refers to the rules that govern sentence structure. It dictates how words combine to form phrases, clauses, and sentences. Every language has its own syntactic rules that speakers follow intuitively. And next is semantics. As we know, semantics is the study of meaning in language. It deals with how words, phrases, and sentences convey meaning. For example, the word child, kid, and youth all have similar meanings but different connotations. The last one is pragmatics. Pragmatics means how context influences the interpretation of meaning. It goes beyond the literal meaning of words and considers factors like tone, setting, and the relationship between speakers. Alright, language is more than just a set of rules or a system of sounds and symbols. It is a social tool. It helps us build a relationship, share culture, and create social bonds. Through language, we can express our identity, share our experiences, and even influence others. Consider how language varies across different social contexts. For instance, the way we speak with friends is different from how we communicate with colleagues or superiors. This variation is known as sociolinguistic, which examines how factors like a region, social class, age, and gender affect language use. Language is also closely linked to cognition, which is the process of thinking and understanding. Some researchers believe that language shapes our thoughts and perception of the world. This idea is known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, or linguistic relativity. It suggests that the language we speak influences how we think, perceive, and categorize the world around us. For example, languages that have multiple words, for example, types of snow, may influence speakers to perceive and differentiate between types of snow more keenly than speakers of language with only one word for snow. So let's briefly discuss language development. How do humans acquire language? Language development is a fascinating process that begins at birth. Babies start by recognizing sounds and patterns, then progress to babbling, forming words, and eventually creating complex sentences. So there are various theories about language acquisition. One of the most well-known is Noam Chomsky's theory. of universal grammar, which suggests that humans are born with an innate ability to acquire language. Another approach is the interactionist perspective, which emphasizes the role of social interactions and environment in language development. Languages are not static, they evolve and also change over time. The words are created, meaning shift, and even grammar rules can evolve. This is evident in the way English, for example, has transformed from Old English to Middle English and then to Modern English. Factors influencing language change include technological advancement, cultural shift, and contact with other language. Today, globalization and digital communication are accelerating language change, giving rise to new dialects and forms of communication, such as internet slang and also emojis. So, what does the future hold for language? As technology continues to evolve, so does the way we use language. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are now playing a role in language processing, translation, and also communication. Additionally, as our world becomes more interconnected, multilingualism is becoming increasingly important. Preserving endangered language is another critical challenge, with many languages at risk of extinction. Efforts are being made to document and revitalize them to maintain cultural diversity. In conclusion, language is a vital part of human existence. It's a tool for communication, a medium for cultural expressions, and a window into the human mind. Understanding the complexity and versatility of language help us appreciate its role in our lives and the broader society. To understand more about the relationship between language and discourse analysis, let me comprehend to the next explanation from the next presenters.
Okay, next topic is discourse analysis. So, what is discourse analysis? Discourse analysis is a way to understand how people use language to communicate and create meaning in a different social context. Imagine you are having a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a stranger. The words you use and the way you say them can change depending on who you are talking to and where you are. Discourse analysis looks at all these aspects of language to see how it shapes our interaction and influences our understanding of the world. And then the purpose of discourse analysis. So discourse analysis aims to understand how language functions and how meaning is constructed in different social contexts. It explores the structure and expression of language to uncover its underlying power dynamics and real-world consequences. It goes beyond analyzing individual words or sentences, focusing on the overall meanings conveyed by language in context. This includes considering vocabulary, grammar, tone, genre, imagery, pragmatics, and the discourse's relationship to society. Okay, next is the different view of discourse analysis. So the first one is contextual understanding. Discourse analysis is like listening to a conversation between friends. It's not just about the words they say, it's about the entire interaction. Imagine how the context of the conversation, where you are, who you are with, and what's happening around you, shapes the meaning of what's being said. This is what discourse analysis does. It examines how language is used in different social settings to create meaning and influence relationships. For example, the meaning of word home can differ depending on whether it is spoken to a family member, a friend, or a stranger. And then the second one is power dynamics. Discourse analysis also looks at how language is used to negotiate power and influence. Think about how a manager might speak to an employee versus how an employee might speak to their manager. The language used in this interaction can reveal who holds the power and how it is being exercised. And then the third one is identity construction. Language can be used to construct and maintain different identities. For example, a politician's speech in a campaign might be very different from their private conversation with constituents. This difference reflects how language is used to shape public personas and maintain social norms. Next is the difference between spoken and written discourse. So the difference between spoken and written discourse lies in several aspects, including grammatical complexity, lexical density, explicitness, contextualization, spontaneity and repetition, hesitation, and redundancy. And the first one is grammatical complexity. So spoken discourse sentences are generally short and simple. They often contain more fragmentation and coordination words. For example, and, but, and so, to facilitate immediate understanding. While in written discourses, the sentences are typically longer and more complex. They often exhibit embedded sentences and a variety of structural forms, making them more elaborate. And then the second one is lexical density. So spoken discourse is less lexically dense. In the other words, content words such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs are spread out over multiple clauses to ensure easier comprehension in real time. While, in the other hand, written discourse is more lexically dense. Content words are tightly packed into individual clauses, providing a richer and more detailed expression of ideas. Then the third one is nominalization. So spoken discourse tends to use more verb-based phrases and predicative adjectives. For example, hospital care instead of going to the hospital. While the written discourse often uses nominalizations, presenting actions and events as nouns rather than verbs. This results in longer noun groups and a higher ratio of nouns to verbs. And then the fourth one is the explicitness. Spoken discourse is often less explicit due to the absence of body language and gestures. However, this can vary depending on the purpose of the communications. For instance, a university lecture might be very explicit despite being spoken. While on the other hand, written discourse is generally more explicit as it relies on clear and direct language to convey meaning without relying on non-verbal cues. And then the fifth one is contextualization. So spoken discourse heavily relies on the contextual information for interpretations. It uses context to create a situation that listeners can easily understand. While written discourse is less contextualized, it requires readers to have a deeper understanding of the context in which it was produced. Although some written texts may still rely heavily on shared contextual knowledge. And then next is the spontaneity. Spoken discourse is more spontaneous and disorganized. It often contains uncompleted sentences, reformulations, and interruptions, reflecting the dynamic nature of real-time communications. While written discourse is more organized and grammatical, it allows for revisions and editing to ensure the clarity and coherence. And then the last one is the repetition, hesitations, and redundancy. So in spoken discourse, it frequently includes repetition, hesitation, and redundancy due to its spontaneous nature. These features help ensure that the message is conveyed clearly in real time. And then, for the written discourse, it typically avoids this feature as they can make the text appear less polished. However, some written texts may still exhibit this characteristic depending on their purpose and style. Okay, I think we already covered all our topics, so this is the end of our video. So thank you for watching and have a nice day.